Hi friends, happy Friday. I am already loving these morning chats that we're having. By the way, I just want you to know that it is currently 6:30 in the morning and I am awake, and I am not only awake, but I am thriving at 6:30 in the morning. And I think it's because we're doing this. I'm just very excited about this. So if you're new here, my name is Alexi and this is Coffee with Alexi, where we attack interesting, personal, deep issues early in the morning for my mental health and for yours. So our prompt this morning was, what are things that you require in relationships? What's the most important aspects of relationships to you? And I came up with these 7 things, and I honestly think that every single relationship needs all of these to be okay. And let me tell you, first of all, if you don't know, I'm currently engaged, getting married in October, very excited about it. But I've been in long-term relationships prior to this one, and this one just felt different. It felt right. It felt like the one. It really had to do with all of these things. We shared and had all of these things in this relationship. Can a relationship make it without these things? Sure, probably. Can it thrive? Is it your soul relationship without these things? I don't think so. Let's get into these, because I think that these are the most important things to be looking for in a relationship. If you're currently looking for one, if you're in one and you're a little wishy-washy about it, or you're like, maybe this isn't the one for me, it might not be. Also, if you hear any strange noises, my cat is full bird hunting right now, so we're just gonna deal with that. So the first thing that I think that every relationship needs is vulnerability. Being open about everything about yourself, being willing to spill your guts, spill your heart, let them know everything. I think that this is really important. It doesn't have to happen right away. Obviously, trust needs to be built, and over time you will come to the point of being fully vulnerable. But if you guys have been together for a while and you still feel like you're holding back or hiding some aspects of yourself or some things about yourself, that's a red flag. I think that in order to have that really soul connecting, real relationship, you really need to let it all out there. Everyone needs to let it all out there. This is emotionally, but this is also physically, right? Because vulnerability can translate into the intimate parts of your relationship as well. And if you're not vulnerable there, then your relationship is really gonna struggle. And this is something that I have struggled with personally, because I struggle with vulnerability. I am a very closed off person, and I know for those of you who've been watching me for a long time, you're thinking, that is really weird because you literally tell us everything about yourself. Yes, I do. It's so different to talk to a camera about yourself than it is to talk to another human being about yourself. But vulnerability in a one-on-one aspect is very hard for me, physically and emotionally. So I have had to dig through some demons, work through some very difficult things, and those previous relationships definitely helped me to do that. And that's why I think those failed relationships are so important, right? Because they're taking you into these aspects of yourself that you've never looked at before. Relationships are mirrors. They're a way for you to get to know yourself on so many deep levels. And if you don't have those failed relationships before you find the right one, then you're not gonna be able to explore all of these aspects of yourself. I think that it's important that we express the deepest, darkest parts of ourselves in relationships, and we also allow the other person to express those deep, dark parts of yourself, because I personally believe that you find somebody's most precious, beautiful light in the darkest parts of themselves. Without digging into that, you'll never find that. Okay, number 2, the second thing that every relationship needs is authenticity. So we go out in the world and we put on this mask for the world. We get dolled up, we put on our makeup, we put on our nice clothes, fake personas, right? And we go out into the world and we do our job and we do the things that we need to do. When we come home, we should be able to take all of that off. If someone doesn't accept the full version of you, everything that you are, in your deepest, darkest places, in your most raw places, that is not the person for you. Authenticity to me is an aspect of humanity that we really need to be working on, which is a huge part of why I've created this new channel, so that I can really explore authenticity with those people who are also looking to explore it. Because in this world, we're told who to be, right? We're told to put on the makeup. We're told to have the perfect body. We're told to dress a certain way. And if we don't adhere to these expectations of society, we're looked down upon. There's nothing we can really do about how society views us, right? I can go out into the world and I never wear makeup and I don't really care what I look like, and certain members of society are gonna view me in any way that they please. My person at home should love that about me. They should love that I will leave the house without makeup on. They should love those things about me that the rest of society may judge me for. If your partner is judging you for things that society may judge you for, that's a red flag. Because those things are superficial. Those things aren't real. Those things aren't who you actually are. And your relationship should be the safest place for you in this world. And if they're not providing that for you, it's time for them to go. It's time for you to walk away. It's time for them to be that lesson that you needed to get to the right relationship. So the third thing that every relationship needs is commitment. And I know this is kind of like a duh, obviously, but you have to think about it in terms of people who, for one, are like fearful of commitment, right? So I was in a relationship for a year while still being afraid of commitment. And so we were always constantly like, I was 1 foot out of the relationship the whole time. And my second relationship too, there was 1 foot out the whole time. I moved to Idaho to live with that person and I had 1 foot out the whole time. I was not committed. And it's not that I wasn't necessarily committed to that person, but I wasn't committed to the idea of a relationship. I still needed my single time. I still needed my freedom. I still wanted to explore and get to know other people. And I was in my early 20s. And I really think that when you're in your early 20s, being in a relationship should definitely be more of like a fluid thing, like in and out, bopping around, unless you like want to have a baby by the time you're 25. That's fine. But when you're growing into your late 20s, early 30s, when you're really wanting to like settle down, start a family, all those things, you have to be committed to the idea of actually being in a relationship. And commitment requires vulnerability and authenticity. So in order to be able to be committed, you really need to look at those aspects of yourself and honestly ask if you bring these things to the table. And if you don't, and you really want a relationship, what can you do to bring these things to the table? Because I really wanted a relationship, but I was so unwilling to be vulnerable. And if you're unwilling to be vulnerable, but you want a relationship, that's not commitment. You have to be willing to do the work, to put in those things in order for commitment to work. So it's like, what are you willing to do in order to allow commitment in that relationship? If you're willing to commit, you will show that you're willing to change things that would not allow you to be committed. For example, Tanner and I recently watched Love is Blind 2, and I don't remember what their names were, but one of the couples that ended up getting married, the man in that relationship was going out every single night, and he was going partying. He wasn't home until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. sometimes, and she was like, if you really want to do this, like, you can't be going out every single night until 3 in the morning. That's not what somebody in a committed relationship does. And he put in the actual effort to make that change because he knew he needed to in order to make that work. And then look at them, they're still together. Okay, so the fourth one, and this one has a lot more to do with me. Some people don't require this, but I definitely do. A sense of humor and an ability to laugh at yourself. I knew that I wanted to date Tanner after the first time we hung out because he made me laugh the whole time. I've always known, like, Tanner is a funny guy. Like, we went to high school together, so I knew he was a funny guy. I didn't realize that, like, I aligned with his sense of humor, and that's important. So, like, when you're looking for a sense of humor, it's like, do you align? Is your sense of humor the same? Having a similar sense of humor is so important, in my opinion, because laughing together is the most important part of a relationship for me, is to be able to laugh, because laughter is my like favorite part of life. I love laughing. It's so fun. So I have to be able to have that with my relationship. And if we can't laugh together, then we're probably not gonna work out. An ability to laugh at oneself shows that you don't take yourself too seriously and you're not unwilling to look at your own flaws. You're not unwilling to realize that you have flaws, because we all have flaws, and you have to be able to look at that and realize that and appreciate it. Don't take yourself too seriously. laugh at yourself, because this life is fun and it's funny, and sometimes we do stupid things and we need to be okay with being like, wow, that was really dumb, but it's funny. The fifth thing that every relationship needs is respect. If they're not respecting your boundaries, your goals, your wishes, your dreams, if they're not respecting the things that you need out of a relationship, that is a red flag. If they're not respecting who you are as a person, you know, if you feel disrespected in a relationship, that is a red flag. I feel like that one is like very duh, okay, we got it. But a lot of people will put up with disrespect for a long time. And it's important that we recognize that if someone is not respecting us now, they won't respect us. I believe that if somebody actually loves you, they will respect you. If they don't love you, they're not going to respect you. That's what you kind of need to come to terms with. If you're in a relationship that lacks respect, that person doesn't actually love you. That's how I feel. That's what I believe, and we'll just leave it at that. The sixth thing that every relationship needs is matching goals. So this is a great example. My last relationship, when I moved to Idaho, he wanted to buy a house. He wanted to really create his life in this city in Idaho. I did not. I, in my heart, in my soul of souls, knew that I wanted to move back to Washington. I wanted to raise my kids in my hometown. I wanted to be in the same city as my family. He also was from a different town. If we were to ever like make it work, somebody would have to be sacrificing those like big necessary things that they want out of life. And if you're sacrificing what you want in life, that's a problem, right? So Tanner and I, we were both born and raised in the same town, and we both want to stay here. We have no desire to leave. We both would like to buy land and build a house. We both would like to somehow get into this real estate market. Likely not gonna happen anytime soon, but it is a goal that we both have, right? We both want children. We both want a family. We both want to raise our kids in this town. And those are like those big life things that since I was a child, those are the things that I have wanted. And if I was in a relationship with someone who didn't also want those things, that would be problematic. Honestly, not just problematic, but in reality, a deal breaker. It's really important that your goals align and that you want the same things. The last thing that I believe every relationship needs are matching values. So going back to Love is Blind, there was that couple that never actually like worked out, but the guy was like, I really, really want you. And she was like, I don't want you because I'm a Christian and you are not. If somebody has a religious belief, they need to be with someone who matches that religious belief. If you aren't religious, you cannot be with someone who is religious, because those are very opposing. They're not just opposing like beliefs, values, but they go down to who the person is, right? If you're religious, that is a large portion of the person that you are. And it's important that the other person understands that and feels those same things. The area of this that really matters to me is health. I work out, I eat well. It's important to me to take care of my body. I can't be with someone who doesn't have those same values. Physical fitness is like one of the most important parts of my life, and to be with someone who doesn't also understand the importance of physical fitness, that wouldn't vibe. It wouldn't work. If you think about like, what is the most important thing to me in this life? In my life, what could I not live without? And if they don't have that same matching need, I think the relationship would probably suffer. You have to understand the other person's needs and be able to accommodate them, be able to match them. And if you can't do that, it may not be the relationship for you. Thank you guys for being here for another episode of Coffee with Alexi. If you guys are interested in watching yesterday's episode, it will be on this screen somewhere and you can click that, and I will see you guys next time.